I do not recommend the Walter Kempner Rice diet for most people, and I also don't recommend the vegan, whole foods, plant-based approach to essentially, if you're going down the path of the rice diet or whole foods, plant-based, WFPB, then you're looking to improve your health, most likely because you're suffering because you've been eating animal foods, animal products, and you want to lose weight sustainably and regain your health. So on this channel, I help people to lose weight and regain their health. Okay, can you see that? Lose weight and regain their health. And this is through the high sugar freedom lifestyle. And I'm going to show you in a moment what I recommend that you can eat that is high in carbohydrate, okay, high in sugars, high in carbohydrate, and as always low in fat and low in protein, because this is the way to lose weight sustainably and regain your health for life. So just firstly, if you don't know, maybe you heard about it and you're not quite sure, well, I'm just going to outline quickly what the rice diet is and whole foods plant-based. So the rice diet essentially comes from a doctor called Walter Kempner, and he created this rice diet where he essentially at the time, so this was about 1939 and then through the 40s and 50s and 60s, and he had these rice houses in North Carolina where he was teaching it. And yeah, Walter Kempner is the most amazing scientist that's ever lived. And the reason why you're not hearing about it is because Walter Kempner is the doctor that treated the most patients in history, or at least modern history. He treated tens of thousands of people, and he would reverse chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes with a 100% success rate. Yeah, 100% through essentially, have to watch out for the wasps, through essentially white rice, fruit, okay, white rice and fruit juice, and also in some cases they used white table sugar as well, which I'll get onto that in a moment. And you don't hear about this anymore because the reason why the healthcare system, the industry of the healthcare system is so large now is because doctors are not taught about nutrition. They're only essentially taught, well, these are the chronic diseases that are now causing so much harm to people. And when they're trained at medical school, they're told essentially 90% of all chronic diseases have an unknown cause. It's not known. So doctors are taught essentially all of these diseases that we're suffering now in the West: heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, there's others, the list goes on and on. Essentially is, oh, we don't know what it is. Well, it's the food, okay? You need to fix the food. And Walter Kempner was fixing the food. He was essentially feeding people who, at the time that he saw, so of these thousands of people, a lot of them, if not most of them, were essentially dying. So they were dying from chronic diseases that we now treat with drugs. And he was treating people essentially before the modern pharmaceutical industry existed. And he had to get it right because there was no second chances, okay? And yes, you need to understand that there's never been a single reported case of type 2 diabetes reversed with drugs. It's only the symptoms that are being treated and not the cause. So because he didn't have essentially a fallback on using drugs as a second chance, if the diet didn't work the first time, he had to get it right. And he looked, well, what's the food that is eaten by most people in the world? White rice. And no, we don't associate, for example, people who live in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and rural China as people who are overweight and sick and diabetic. Okay, quite the opposite. So if you want to find a lean person that doesn't do any exercise, okay, of any age, then you can go to Southeast Asia and you will see lots of people who do not exercise, essentially do no exercise every day, and they're lean. And if they're eating the traditional diet, which essentially is mostly based on the staple of white rice, 3 meals a day, and they're just eating to feel full, they have no idea what calories is. They're just eating because You can satiate yourself. Okay, so you eat to satiate yourself, you breathe to satiate for oxygen, and you drink water to satiate for water. Okay, so these are the three things that you have to do every day. You drink for water, you breathe air for oxygen, and you eat food for glucose. So I don't recommend the rice diet. Okay, so if you found this video because you were looking up the rice diet, Walter Kempner Rice diet, I don't recommend it because essentially you may have heard it from someone else who's amazing as well. Dr. John McDougall, he was amazing. And he said, and I agree with him, the rice diet is for people who are sick and dying. So you can be sick but not dying. So if you're watching this video, you're probably not dying, but you may be sick or feel sick. So this is only for those people who are literally weeks or months away from death. So you literally would eat white rice, some fruit juice or some orange juice, and essentially that's it. And yes, he did try using, you know, multivitamins, but he never found that if you have essentially white rice and fruit juice and fruit, okay, white rice, so this was it, white rice, fruit, which is surrounding me here in the Garden of Vegan, and fruit juice. Okay, so that's what he essentially got people to eat, and miraculously they didn't die. Okay, it actually improved their health. So yeah, he did offer, he would start to introduce meats and fish, and but you know, for the people who were the most likely, you know, just weeks and months away from death, this is what it was. It wasn't meat, it was just purely this. So that's what he was, that's what he was creating. And yeah, amazing. Oh, hello. Butterfly. That was amazing, but I don't recommend that because that's the diet for the dying. So if you're watching this video, you're probably not dying. So that's that. So if you've got any more questions or comments about that, you know, put it in the comment section. So that's the first part of the videos. Walter Kempner Rice diet. Hope I've done a good enough take on that. I've got a plum in my shoe. So, but if you've got any more questions and comments about that, then you know, put them in the comment section. So the next part of this video is whole foods plant-based, WFPB. Yeah. So I don't recommend the whole food plant-based vegan because what does that mean? Okay, so the whole food plant-based could be you eat broccoli and lettuce all day, every day. And this is not healthy, okay? So what you need to focus on, and this is why I've come to the conclusion that it's all about high sugar, is because your body runs on glucose. So the reason why whole food plant-based, yes, it's better than eating animal products and not being vegan. But essentially, whole food plant-based is, it's still getting it wrong in terms of the macronutrient breakdown. So you can get so confused on the whole food plant-based that you don't really know what that means, because you just hear it and you say, right, so I can just eat broccoli and lettuce and then I'll be good. I'll be fine just eating broccoli and lettuce all day, every day, 3 times a day for snacks and lunch. And no, you'll feel terrible. What you need to focus on is carbohydrate. Okay, carbohydrate. And yes, these foods are low in fat and low in protein, but they're low in everything. Okay, yes, they have micronutrients, sorry. They have micronutrients, but they're lacking in all the macronutrients. And yes, good, low fat, low protein is the healthiest way to go, but also low carbohydrate, no. That's really stupid, okay? So you need to, just some basic background. ATP, okay, ATP is the molecule that powers all the cells in the human body. If you don't get ATP enough, if your body doesn't produce ATP, you only have literally seconds of storage of ATP. So you're always constantly producing it. And it's derived from glucose, okay? So glucose-derived ATP is what you need to always think about when you want to feel full of energy, okay? So the high sugar freedom lifestyle is all about the energy, okay? Energy and drive for life. So if you put a limit on carbohydrate intake, you will put a limit on your life, okay? Your quality of life. So the high sugar, the vegan high sugar, so vegan, always vegan for the animals. But as I always say, most people do not care about animals. Okay, they don't care about animals. They only maybe care about their health enough to be vegan, but they won't actually tell people they're vegan. Okay, but they'll eat in secret. Okay, and so if you want to be healthy, okay, so I recommend veganism for the animals. So I understand the consequences of my actions, that if I eat animal products, there is a victim involved, and therefore choice is removed. So I never meet people who realize that taking the life of an animal is not giving choice, okay? Killing an animal is taking away choice of another animal. So that's for another video. And I'm going to show you now what I recommend. So Walter Kempner Rice diet is for the sick and dying. So no, you don't need to eat like that. If you want to lose weight and regain your health, you don't need to eat like that. You can if you want to. It's your life. Okay, it's your life. You can do that if you want. You're going to be healthy eating like this, no doubt. But this doesn't have any spice or excitement to life. And I think this is not the diet for the living, okay? I'm going to show you what the diet for the living, okay, is now. So it's not whole food plant-based either, because that doesn't mean anything. I understand the sentiment behind it. You know, the person who came up with it, yeah, he's clever and he's vegan and he wants people to eat vegan. But also the whole food plant-based movement, again, is for the drive for high fat, high protein. So for example, people would say, well, eat nuts, for example, maybe on the whole food plant-based. Well, these are just high in fat, okay? Or they might say you eat lots of avocado. Avocado, again, that's high in fat, okay? Is the mic on? Yeah, the mic's on, good. So these foods are high in fat, so maybe on the whole food plant-based. And again, it's demonizing sugar, okay? And you need to remember you're unhealthy because of high fat, high protein, not high sugar, okay? So high sugar or high carbohydrate is a scapegoat for fat and protein. And if you want to be sporty like I am, you always need to eat unlimited amounts of carbohydrate. So I've just mentioned sport. So I've got a water bottle here, and I recommend always having at least 100 grams of sugar an hour. So literally make it up with white table sugar. Okay, when you're going out having fun moving your body, whatever way you want to do, I recommend cycling because it's a low impact sport. So for example, it's much better than running, I think, because cycling is amazing for weight loss, amazing for your heart health. It's amazing for clearing your mind, getting rid of stress on the mind and on the body. Whereas running, you get injured. You have to have started running from when you were a child, not to get injured. And also I've got a gel here. So yeah, I recommend processed and unprocessed foods, but they're always not animal products, never animal products, always vegan, and always low fat, low protein, high sugar, high carbohydrate. So I've got some SIS beta or beta fuel gel there. You could have that when you're exercising as well. And yeah, I've got some sweets here, so vegan gummy sweets or some vegan marshmallows. Again, you can take that along with you. And I've got some, so these are essentially ice lollies, fruity ice lollies, which are amazing at this time of year in the summer and late summer. Got some Japanese style food here, so mochi or mochi, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it, mochi, mochi. So you got stuff like that. Again, really nice. So there's some Japanese style food. And then I've got, I would still recommend white rice, okay? But I would have it with other sauces, like I've got some soy sauce here. So soy sauce and white rice, that's one of the oldest meals you can have in history. So more people have probably eaten soy sauce and white rice together than any other food. So it's a well-tested food. Okay, soy sauce with white rice is, yeah, a very well tested food. Okay, got some like chili sauce here, barbecue style sauce. So you can have sauces, that's good. And I've also got some crackers here. Again, these are, you can have these with jam. These are low fat, low protein. And yes, they're processed. And I've got fruit juice bottle. Again, that's good. So you can have fruit. You could start the day with fruit, unprocessed. Yeah, straight from Garden of Vegan, flying plums. And then you can have that with some fruit juice. And then for lunch, you could have some fruit juices, some bottles of fruit juice. And then in the evening, you'd have some white rice with some sauces. And also, I would have that maybe with some, labels come off here, some organic chickpeas there. So you could have that, or maybe you could have some sweet corn mixed in there as well. And also, I recommend foods like pasta. So yeah, pasta is really nice. You know, it's actually not as high carbohydrate as rice. So I actually wouldn't, out of the two, pasta and rice, I would eat rice more because there's more carbs in pasta. And you're always thinking about how much carbohydrate you're getting. Am I getting enough? And you should always say, I'm going to eat unlimited carbs because I don't want to put a limit on my life performance. I want to live the best life. And also you can have pizza, but make it yourself. So there's some pizza dough flour there. So you can make your own pizza, and therefore you can control how much fat and oil that's in it. So I never make white rice with oil. It's just white rice. Okay, I don't even wash it. I just put it straight in the rice cooker and it cooks it like that. Cooks it like that. Make your own pizza. Make your own toppings. You don't need to put fat in it. You don't need to put oils in it. So you can have super low fat pizza, just as nice, if not nicer, because you then don't have the mental stress of feeling guilty. And I've also got foods like cornflakes here. So yeah, if you're worried about you're not getting enough of the micronutrients that you need, like, you know, you're not getting enough iron, then add more processed foods in. If you're ever worried, because they add, you know, there's added, you know, they add things to the food, so you don't need to worry about, you know, where you're getting your micronutrients if you just add more processed foods in, if you're worried about that. So yeah, that might be always the sticking point is, you know, you've been told that no matter what, you can't eat processed foods. Processed foods are bad for you. White rice is the oldest food on the planet. Okay, yeah, some might argue there's one or two foods that are older by 1,000 years or so, but essentially white rice is the food that's been eaten by most people on the planet in history. And when we look at the West and versus the East, okay, the West is suffering from all the chronic diseases and is actually malnourished because so many people, for example, have osteoporosis and they have anemia, and they're eating the Western style of foods, high animal products, and they're malnourished. Okay, the West is malnourished, even though they're eating high calorie, unlimited excess foods like the kings and the queens. So they're getting the diseases of the kings and the queens, like the gout. Okay, whereas the East, these people in the East, like Southeast Asia, India. Well, India can sometimes have a lot of fat. They do have sometimes a lot of fat. So I would say more like Southeast Asia, more like rural China and Vietnam. And I mention Vietnam because I always get, well, people in the East, they're malnourished. And I always say, who won the Vietnam War? The Americans or the rice eaters? The Vietnamese won the Vietnam War. The rice eaters won. And the Westerners, the Americans who were eating the steak and the milk and the eggs and the bacon, they lost. Okay. And they dropped more tonnage of bombs on Vietnam than all wars, World War II, World War I, and all wars in the history of humanity added together. The Americans dropped more bombs on Vietnam in a 10-year period than all of the bombs dropped and all of the weapons and all the bombs and everything used throughout history before. So no. High carbohydrate, low fat, low protein, basing it on rice, fruit, sugar, plus processed foods will not make you malnourished. In fact, it'll be the opposite. So you'll stop suffering from osteoporosis and anemia. You'll stop being fat. You'll stop being sick. You'll stop being diabetic. You'll stop having high blood pressure. All of these chronic diseases, or all of these together, you can reverse these chronic diseases, okay, all at the same time, if you eat the right foods. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. And remember, unlimited carbohydrate. Keep fat low, keep protein low. And when I say fat low, I mean 10 to 20 grams a day, and that's it. And if you want to be, if you were worried about protein, I would never say more than 50, 60, 70 grams a day. Okay. So no, not 100 grams of protein. No, not 100 grams of fat. Unlimited carbs. And you can eat some processed foods. Keep it vegan, keep it low fat, low protein. And yes, fruit's amazing, white rice is amazing. But this is how you're supposed to eat. Okay, this is how you're meant to eat if you want to live a life with unlimited potential. Okay, the best life is the simple life, I think, and also the best life is the sweet life. So stop fearing sugar. Sugar is the scapegoat for the damage that fat and protein is causing. So eat like this. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section. And as I always say, if you want to get in touch for personalized coaching, then there'll be an email in the description, probably near the top, where you can get in touch for personalized weight loss coaching and health coaching. So I can make you a personalized meal plan, for example. And you'll see, you can eat as much of the foods as I recommend. You can eat as much of these foods as I recommend. So you can eat to lose weight. You can eat to get fat. And you don't even need to exercise with this way of eating. If you keep low fat, low protein, high carb, you don't even need to exercise to be healthy. But I would still recommend cycling because it's got so many positive benefits. Gives you a sense of freedom. And yeah, it's amazing for weight loss as well. So if you eat like this and with cycling, you'll save money and you'll also get really lean. Okay, and you'll look great. So I hope you enjoy the video and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. I hope you enjoy the garden of vegan as well.